Competitors now ramping up, and as you're familiar with BYD, which is also on the West Coast, I think they're ramping up production of their electric vehicles. Why do you laugh? BYD is trying to compete. Why do you laugh?
Have you seen that car?
BYD is a huge conglomerate that makes batteries, mobile phones, electronics, monorails, trucks and buses, and above all, electric cars. BYD's founder was born into immense poverty when his mother and father died of disease and hard work. So the story of how this orphan managed to create the largest EV company in the world is unbelievable. BYD is seen as a huge threat to Western countries as the company is accused of copycatting, overcapacity, and using cutthroat tactics to get rid of competitors. You finally hear the real story of BYD. Set in China, 1966, that Wan Shangfu was born on the 8th of April, 1966. His mother was a farmer and housewife, versus his family being very poor, but happy. But when Wang was 13, his dad got diagnosed with liver cancer. Wang now realized that the best way he could help his family was if he managed to get into vocational high school. After his father's death, his mother became the main breadwinner, but while working on the fields, she suddenly collapsed and passed away before she could get to the hospital. After losing his mother, young Wang was totally heartbroken. Not wanting to be a burden, Wang decided to drop out of school, but as soon as his brother and sister-in-law heard of his plan, that he should not separate the family, and that he should worry about finishing his studies, because in 1983, Wang managed to get accepted to Central South University to study metallurgical physical chemistry, something that would change his life forever. In 1987, he was offered a postgraduate position at the prestigious Beijing General Research Institute for Nonferrous Metals, later becoming the institute's executive officer. He was appointed general manager of the new battery manufacturing joint venture between his institute and Bayo Steel Group. The following year, Wang read an article saying that Japan was abandoning its nickel-cadmium battery industry due to environmental concerns. But despite being its general manager, his ideas were dismissed. For years, Wang craved stability, so he took the decision to resign and start his own battery company. Wang faced a huge problem. He had no capital. Banks and investors turned him down, but his family, his cousin, a successful businessman, lent him 2.5 million yuan. And also brought in his friend, who after being impressed with Wang, decided to invest his life savings. So on November 18, 1994, they founded Yadi Electronics in a modest workshop, later changed the name to BYD or BYD in order to be listed higher up. But the initial conditions for the startup were very poor, and the employees often had to sleep side by side on makeshift beds to save costs. During this time, Wang worked tirelessly. BYD managed to create their own products, but there was a huge problem that the company couldn't afford an automated production line. To solve this issue, he calculated the cost of automated robots spread out over the production run and compared it to the cost of manual labor doing the same work. He could create a competitive manual labor-intensive production line that would be more cost-effective than his competitors. In addition to this, they would also make their own machines. He established a line that produced 4,000 nickel-cadmium batteries daily. By 1997, BYD became China's largest battery manufacturer, but there was a problem. Big international customers had never heard of the company. Why should they trust their batteries? In order to get customers, Wang sent his top sales manager, Stella Li, to the headquarters of one of the biggest mobile phone makers in the world, Motorola. At first, they were irritated with her, but after some time, they came to be impressed by her relentlessness and decided to give BYD a chance. Stella Li's work impressed Wang, and she would later be appointed the CEO of BYD Americas. Now, big customers started rolling in, and by 2002, BYD was set to be listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, each of them becoming a millionaire. By 2003, BYD surpassed Japan's Sanyo to become the world's largest battery manufacturer. Yet at the pinnacle of success, Wang felt a growing unease. He looked at another booming industry with great interest. Wang decided that he wanted to venture into the automobile industry. When he shared his ideas to his colleagues and investors, they all thought he had lost it. Wang knew nothing about car manufacturing, and he did not even have a driver's license. But Wang dismissed the private counsel of his senior executives and the threats from investment firms. And in January 2003, BYD acquired 77% of Qingshan Automobile for 270 million yuan. The announcement sent BYD's stock plummeting. Qingshan Automobile had produced a cheap sedan known as the Flyer, together with Japan's Suzuki. Following the acquisition, BYD continued to sell the Flyer under their brand while trying to develop new models, making them change it after a few years. The sales of the Flyer were not going well, so Wang decided to create a new model from scratch. But the model was not well received by the dealers, and Wang instead opted to make something that looked more familiar. The result was the BYD F3, which launched in September 2005, resembling a Toyota Corolla so closely that many parts were interchangeable. Wang mirrored his battery manufacturing method by creating production lines with plenty of manual labor, cutting costs significantly, allowing the F3 to be priced at half of a Corolla. And within a year, F3 sales surpassed 100,000 units, making it the fastest domestic brand to reach that milestone. BYD then followed up by successfully launching the F3R and the F6 that had a striking resemblance to some General Motors and Toyota models. On August 9, 2007, BYD officially opened its Pingshan base with a grand press conference. But the Pingshan complex was not just a factory. The complex also had housing and restaurants for the workers. In comparison with other CEOs, Wang decided to live with his workers, and he could often be seen eating with them. During the event, Wang Shengfu boldly declared BYD's goal to become China's #1 car manufacturer by 2015 and a world leader by 2025. So confident was Wang in his vision that he decided BYD would participate in the 2008 Detroit Auto Show. But there was a problem. The problem with BYD was that while global brands had loyal fans who knew everything about their history and models, no one could even answer what BYD stood for. Someone jokingly said that it could stand for Bring Your Dollars. They decided the acronym would stand for Build Your Dreams, a slogan that highlighted its focus on engineering and work ethics. But the truth was that BYD was not ready for the Detroit Auto Show. Everything was rushed, and their car brochure had not even been properly translated into English. Some journalists joked about how the front of the BYD car looked like a Toyota Corolla and the back looked like a Chevrolet Optra, with the doors of the cars not shutting correctly. One journalist uploaded a critical video of BYD, but some car experts did take notice of how the Chinese brand was actually planning to bring to market some of the world's first hybrid electric and fully electric car models. But this was also the year that Tesla launched the Roadster. The car had received a lot of praise for its long range and high speed. This gave Tesla the leg up, as their cars were seen as high-quality products. But all was not lost, as the young Chinese car company had piqued the interest of one of the most important American investors, Charlie Munger. vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. This led to a $230 million investment, sending BYD's stock price soaring and propelling Wang into the ranks of China's wealthiest. In 2009, BYD launched its first pure electric EV, the E6. But in the excitement of this new direction, Wang made a fatal mistake. Wang slashed investments in traditional car models, putting the company in a downward spiral as dealerships abandoned BYD. The following year, profits nosedived by 88.6%, and culminating in resignations, widespread layoffs, and a surge in product quality issues. In BYD's latest electric car in the US, Elon Musk was asked on live television what he thought about the Chinese competitor.
BYD, which is also on the West Coast, I think they're ramping up production of their electric vehicles. Warren Buffett owns 10% stake in that. Why do you laugh? Why do you laugh?
Have you seen that car?
This was a difficult time for BYD, and Wang's next decision could determine the survival of the company. Wang did something drastic. He took a trip to the local Mercedes dealer and bought the most premium car in the lot, the S-Class, and gathered all of his top engineers and said, "Here you go, tear it apart." Wang was determined to catch up to his competitors. And in a show of support, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett chose to visit the struggling Wang to send a message that investors were still behind him. In 2015, BYD sold an impressive 61,000 new energy vehicles, a term used for hybrid electric cars and pure electric cars. In addition, the Chinese government had just declared that they were gonna support the transition to EVs. Suddenly, BYD was well positioned for the future of the car industry. Many were surprised when Oscar-winning actor Leonardo DiCaprio became BYD's brand ambassador, showcasing the company's newfound confidence as an electric car manufacturer. The company had a 130% increase in NEV sales. The company held a huge ceremony in their electric bus factory in the USA that they would be quadrupling the factory floor to increase the production of electric buses, that they would be able to sell cars in the lucrative US market. Between 2017 and 2019, everything started to turn south again. The Chinese government cut funding for electric vehicle purchases. This made BYD's profits drop to a mere 1.6 billion yuan, making Wang declare it the darkest moment for his company. The only goal for the company was to survive. In contrast, his main competitor Tesla introduced its anticipated Model Y to raving reviews. Tesla started to construct a massive car factory in China, but a new company had risen up to challenge BYD's position as the #1 battery supplier in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic was declared worldwide. Cost forecasts predicted an economic slowdown, but Wang was different from other CEOs. He lived with his workers while maintaining the company's financial integrity. Perhaps BYD could weather the pandemic. So Wang ordered his 3,000 engineers to refit production lines to make masked and hand sanitizers. In a short time, BYD became the world's largest mask producer. The company was also preparing their next move. They would have a little surprise for their competitors. BYD's engineers had been busy developing a new type of battery that would mark a new standard in the EV industry. The company had achieved a breakthrough in battery safety and durability. BYD published a video of a nail puncturing a conventional battery going up in flames, and then doing the same thing with their Blade battery with hardly any reaction. This PR demo was a brilliant move, since that the engineering team was not the only ones that were making an effort. To combat BYD's low-quality image, the company had been busy developing new models that would once and for all settle the debate on Chinese cars being just bad copies of Western ones. The company announced a new line of cars developed by some of the world's top designers. This time, they would come after the #1 pure electric car company in the world, Tesla. In late 2020, BYD launched the Han, an electric vehicle sedan that had a level of style and sophistication that no BYD car had before. Its premium interior even outshined the ones found in Tesla cars. By naming the car Han after one of the Chinese dynasties, Wang was declaring it a statement of the country's progress and innovation. But the company did not stop there, releasing several models of SUV and sports sedans, competing with almost every segment Tesla had to offer. From 2020 to 2023, BYD's sales skyrocketed.